Now I'm in there with like murderers and stuff like that, bro. Like in the turtle suits. I'm like, I'm done. She's like, I heard it before.
Once you got there, were you still scared, or did it seem better than what you expected it to be?
I was a little, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was a little nervous. I didn't know where I was going.
How much would you say you were making at the time?
10 grand a week on a bad week.
What's something you wish you knew back then that you know now? Steve Fusco grew up in Connecticut, raised by a single mom with a solid upbringing, then high school trouble sent him to military school. In college, he started using and selling drugs, spiraled into addiction and multiple arrests, and eventually got 2 years in Connecticut State Prison the moment everything changed. Inside, he rebuilt from the ground up. Today, Steve is sober and a successful business owner. In this episode, he breaks down how it all unraveled, the wake-up call behind bars, and the blueprint he uses to stay clean and win. Steve, welcome to Locked In, man. Thanks so much for reaching out. A friend from the past and connecting and coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's crazy what social media allows things to happen, you know, connections, following up with people from the past and stuff. And
yes.
Who would have thought we'd be sitting here today?
No, especially with our stories, who would thought, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely it's a blessing to be here.
Yeah, and thanks to Hank for getting you to reach out too.
Yeah.
Hank was a guest on the show.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I want you to plug in your business at the top of this episode. Tell everyone what you're doing and whatnot.
So we specialize in storm damage claims for homeowners with roofing, siding, anything that's been damaged by the wind. I'm sure you know there's been a lot of wind out here. And we help homeowners basically get approved by their insurance company. So $1,000 to get a brand new roof or siding or anything that has been, you know, damaged by the elements, and they're actually protected by a public act that was written in Hartford in 2013. We do solar, we do interior, we do exterior, and we're all over Connecticut. So another blessing.
And we'll have your website in the description and everything like that too.
All right, cool. Awesome.
Did you grow up in Connecticut?
I did. I grew up right in New Milford here on Candlewood Lake.
Oh. On the actual lake itself, or?
In a lake community, probably 10 seconds off the lake, 20 seconds off the lake, yeah. But not right on the water, no.
Were you an only child? Or?
I was an only child. The family down the road, actually, their father was like my father. He taught me how to water ski, taught me how to snow ski. And, you know, we did everything together. Michael was my best friend, and he was my best friend. I did everything with their family, and vice versa.
Was your dad not in the picture?
He was, but not like, he always paid his bill, and he just, maybe I struggled a little bit of the fatherlessness problem in America. Yeah, but I talk to him now. Forgiveness, man. You got to forgive.
Was he never in the picture as a kid?
He would come around, but not like around. But it's not like he's a bad guy. He's not like hooked on drugs. He's not like, he's just not a good father. Everyone else loves him. Great guy. But just wasn't always there in the picture, put it that way.
How'd your mom explain that dynamic to you when you were young?
I don't remember, man. I'll be honest. I don't remember.
What did your mom do for work?
My mom today, she works for a major pharmaceutical, and she makes really good money. She worked at Duracell for years, then she worked for Gillette. On top of that, she does a lot of like I said, right now she worked for Bollringer for years, and now she's transitioned into like I really don't know what she does. She works with the doctors and the higher ups in the medical fields. So for the pharmacies.
Did you guys have a really good relationship when you were growing up?
Me and my mom?
Yeah.
She's my best friend, man. I took her through a mud ride, man. You know what I mean? But she never turned her back on me. So, but yeah, we're close, man. She's my best friend. Yeah,
I think a lot of the guests on the show can relate to that, how we all took our parents through that.
Right, 100%. And, it's worse when there's no father in the picture, There is a fatherlessness problem, and people don't really talk too much about that, right? I'm not sure what the exact statistics is, but when there's no father in the image, it's worse, right? And then, but guys don't want to talk about that. It's, I'm the big bad. No, but like, I look back and I'm like, whoa, I was reaching out for something that wasn't there. Put it that way.
How big of an impact do you think that had on your childhood?
I think it was just later in life, man. You know what I mean? When I was like using it as an excuse to play a victim role, right? Like now that I did some step work and I have some spiritual principles in my life, I use it as an excuse to live like a mess for many years. But I don't know. I did wonder where he was though at like softball games, baseball games, sporting events. Why do other people have two parents and I have one? Like, but again, it's not an excuse to live the way that I was living at all.
How were you living as a kid?
I mean, I didn't go without. I lived with my grandparents and my mother. My mom worked a lot. I didn't have, I had everything you could want as a kid. I look back, I snow skied, I water skied. I went to Catholic school, and I grew up pretty good. I didn't go without anything. I wasn't abused, I came from a really good family that tried to instill values in me that I just wasn't ready to hear until I was ready to hear.
What kind of kid would you say you were? Were you getting into trouble at all, or just a normal kid?
Not until like 15, man. Like, I went to Catholic school my whole life, and then I went to Immaculate as a freshman, and then I started hanging out with people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with, older people, right? And, then I left Immaculate and went to New Milford High School, and then I was seeing people could skip class and like do all this stuff that wasn't allowed, and it seemed more fun, right?
Do you think going to private school had a positive or a negative influence on your life?
I think a positive, because that's where I do remember now that I look back and I'm like, I was a great kid. I did say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and who knows where I would have been without that, right? So.
I remember being in Danbury High School having friends at Immaculate. They did a lot of drugs at Immaculate because they could afford the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, drugs require money, right? Until they don't, and you start doing stuff, people start doing stuff to get them that doesn't, that they shouldn't be. But there was a lot of drugs in that school, probably, But there's just as many in public school. It's the public school kids giving it to them, I guess, right? Put it that way. I don't know if that makes sense. But.
When you were in high school, what were your dreams for the future, aspirations, goals?
Yeah, man, I was supposed to be a brain surgeon. That's what I wanted then, right? And I wasn't. If you told me I would be owning a roofing company and a solar company one day, I would have been like, yeah, no, I don't think so.
If you told me that when I met you, I would have said the same thing.
No, 100% no. Like that, like I would be out here trying to sell hope today. And that, I thought I was going to get what I have today, like financial freedom, a wife and a family, and like spiritual principles. I was going to be able to still live the life I was living and have it today at the same time.
So that was always a goal. You always wanted that?
I believe everyone wants to, have a family, right? And create wealth, right? Like, you know what I mean? I was just blinded in the fact that I thought I was going to get it by the way I was doing things. Like I had the wrong idols and I hung out with the wrong people and in the wrong environments. Today I know that I'm not going to get what I have today by partaking in anything from the past, put it that way.
So what happens after high school? Do you go to college?
So mid-high school, I ended up going to military school, all boys in Wayne, Pennsylvania. It got to the point to where I was acting out a little bit too much. I, got in a little trouble for fighting, and my mother sent me to an all-boys military school. I was skipping class. I was doing all this stuff that I never had done before until I went to a public school. And, I went there, and I actually graduated, because if she didn't send me there, I probably wouldn't have graduated. It was structured, and crazy to say, I succeed in a structured environment. And from there, I went to Quinnipiac.
Wow, I didn't realize you went to military school. What was that like? Was it hard?
It was structured, man, and it was high school kid it was cadet ran. So long story short is you had like 8th graders telling them what you do, and I went there as a sophomore in 95, and as soon as we get there, you go through plebe system, 6 weeks of no phone, no nothing, being told what to do, and I was a little bit spoiled as a kid, so I got little kids telling me what to do, and it's all cadet ran. So it's like, officers and stuff like that are in charge of you and telling you when to wake up. And I'll never forget the day I woke up in the morning, man, and it was, bah, 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 bah. Get up, get out of your racks. I was like, what is going on? My mom's paying $30,000 a year for this. Where's the maid? And but if she didn't send me there, I probably wouldn't have graduated high school.
Were you surprised she sent you there?
She gave me an option. Either you're going to go live with your father or you're going to go to military school. And I chose military school.
Wow. So the relationship with your dad wasn't even that great then
No.
that you chose military school over that?
Yeah.
What was he doing for work at the time?
He drove trucks. I had it way better with my mother,
Now, did military school give you the idea to maybe go into the military, or it was just...
It did at first, but then I had asthma because it was kind of cool. They had a 2-year ECP program there where you can get your second lieutenant, which is like West Point, the Citadel, and all these other schools. It takes 4 years to get it. They actually early commission you in 2 years. And I flirted with the idea, but, they said I had asthma and I wouldn't be able to do it. So it kind of just went out the window.
So did you get your actual high school diploma at the military school
I
too?
did,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, the book A Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, that's really, they call it Penn State Prep in there, but it's written about Valley Forge Military Academy.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, we read that in high school.
Yeah. I think I forget about it, but yeah, no, that's the school. It's got a lot of tradition behind it, and it was a good experience though.
What did you go to Quinnipiac for?
I wanted to be a lawyer, man. I was a justice in law, and I was really undecided, man. And long story short, I just went in there and just started taking the prerequisites. But I didn't get any credit my first year, man. Quinnipiac was where I got out of the structure environment of a military academy. I came home from military school, and all my friends were, guess what they were doing? They were out there in the mix, and they all had Parasuco jeans and, Bubble Gooses and True Religions when they were still they really cost a lot of money, and, Nikes and everything, Jordans. And I was like, well, how did they get this stuff, man? I was like, did your mom buy that? Because at that point, my mom bought me everything. And I got into seeing what they were doing to get money, put it that way.
So you think if you never went back to Connecticut, you would have been better off? At the time, I know everything worked out well in the end, but...
I don't know, man. You bring yourself wherever you go. So location changes don't really... I wasn't ready to have what I have today then. I was still lost in the sauce, man. Maybe if I had some different people around me, but I've always had people in me trying to send me something else. I was still attracted to a different kind of lifestyle.
Do you think your mom sheltered you too much growing up?
I think my mom did the best that she knew how, right? She didn't know. There's no book on a kid. She did spoil me a little bit. I was her baby boy. I think I was told yes way too much, but which made me a nasty salesman later in life. Can I turn this thing off real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
And because I don't like to hear the word no, let me see here. Focus on this. Boom. Power off.
The audience will appreciate you.
Yeah, well, I'm working on it. This stupid Samsung, right?
We got to get you an iPhone.
God, it's done. All right, so I apologize. And no, but I think she might have sheltered me a lot. I was sheltered, man. I wasn't ever shown anything bad. I wasn't ever showed any kind of the stuff that I went to. It was never brought up like that. It wasn't brought up in my house. My grandparents were hardworking, second generation Italians that busted their ass to get what we have to leave to the next generation. There's not people like that anymore. What we have today, my grandparents busted their butt.
So you see your friends, groups of people doing kind of probably illegal things or
right.
that type of behavior. What interested you about that? Why did you like that? Because you were never introduced to that as a kid.
They had the stuff that I liked, I seen MTV rap, all that stuff influenced me, man. There's nothing I could say other than that. I liked the way that they made money doing it, and I'm an entrepreneur. I know today I'm an entrepreneur. Today I know that I have talents, right? And I thought I was going to be able to get it all, and it was easy. And like I said, who doesn't like a pair of Jordans, right? Who doesn't like all that nice stuff? And it just came so easy to them. And now I look back and I'm like, man, that's how talented I am, because I learned something that like I was never taught really fast. Do
you remember the first time you were introduced to that lifestyle?
When I came home from military school, I'll never forget it. Someone was like, "Oh, have you ever done this?" And of course I lied because I wanted to fit in. You know what I mean? A lot of like recovering drug addicts will think back and talk about it. Like, listen, I just wanted to fit in. I didn't know where I fit in, right? And it took off from there, like trying drugs for the first time, and then being able to sell them as well. You know what I mean? That's kind of where it came in. Yeah, when I came home from military school.
What was the first drug you tried?
I had drank a few times. First time I had a drink was on Lover's Leap in New Milford. Yeah, that was before military school. And then maybe I smoked a little weed before military school. And then I went there, didn't do nothing. Came home and, everybody was doing, the people that I was friends with were doing cocaine. And, unfortunately tried it, and it does what it's supposed to do. Like, it works, right? Like, I did it the first time, loved it, fell in love with it. It was a solution to the underlying problem. Now, today, I know that, like, I was using it for a different problem. Like, you were talking about the root, right? The dad, the this, the that. And it probably alleviated some of that pain, right? Which, not probably, definitely alleviated some of that pain, and until it became the problem, if that makes sense.
Did you end up finishing at QU?
I did not. Didn't get one credit my first year. I partied my mother's, whatever it cost then. I think it was like $35,000 a year. It was 90. I graduated high school in 97. She was pissed. She could have bought a Lexus cash. I ended up graduating college from WestCon, which I don't downgrade the school. I got a bachelor's in finance, but like I just passed by. I went to Central. I went back to the military academy because they have a junior college there. And I went back and forth from Western to Central, and I ended up finishing with a finance degree. I went into WestCon one day. You asked me earlier what I was, what my major was, and I went into WestCon into the business department. I was undecided, and I saw pictures of $100 bills on the pamphlet for finance. Did not realize how much math was involved, and I chose that.
Why do you think money always interested you? Like, you wanted the lawyer or the doctor, you wanted nice careers.
So just like nice things. If you work, listen, if you're going to try to get them the wrong way, well, then they're going to disappear. But if you work hard and, you have goals, like that's, successful people talk about goals. Like they want this, they want that. Well, then they're going to work for it to get it. I generally just like nice stuff. Like I want a boat. Like I want to be able to take my family on a ski trip. I want to go on a vacation. Like I like Jordans. I like, nice sneakers. I think I was just blinded in a way to do what I had to do to try to get that stuff, and then was surrounded by other people that had that stuff, and that's what they were doing. Mm-hmm. Product of the environment that I surrounded myself with. Instead, I should have been hanging out with people that I hang out with today, like people of influence, right? I read a book by Dr. Billy Alsberg, Blessed and Unstoppable, talks about the power of 5. If I'm hanging around with 5 people that are doing better than me, right? Well, then I'm a product of those people. Like if they treat their wife better than me, well, I'm going to treat my wife better than I do, right? If they're more spiritual than me, I'm going to be more spiritual. If they're better in their recovery than me, if they're better in finances than me, well, then I'm going to start talking like them. I'm going to invest like them. I'm going to get involved in things that they're involved in. And tell me who you are. Tell me who your network is. I'll tell you either your net worth or what you're involved in. And I was just hanging out with people that were involved in the wrong stuff.
What happens after WestCon once you graduate?
Well, during WestCon, I was selling a lot of marijuana at that time, back and forth from Plattsburgh. After WestCon, that's when the downfall happened. I think it was like 2008, man, and I met opiates. Like I was doing Percocets at the time, and they went away. Like was a pharmacist in Manhattan that was giving me $400 a week, and like I really, honestly, truthfully didn't know that they were heroin in a pill. 100%. If I look back, I did not know. And then one day there was a Bennigan's here in town.
I remember that. Yeah. That became the dispensary now.
I don't know. I haven't been there. I haven't been around here so long. And I'll never forget it. It was like a Wednesday night. It was like a college night, and I told one of my friends. I won't say their name, obviously, and they were like, "You're not sick, bro," because I thought I had to go to the emergency room. Honestly, I was like, "I got the flu." He's like, "You're not sick." He's like, "You know those things you've been eating? Here, try this." And that was about then, right around then, 2000, when I graduated Wisconsin. So that's when I met heroin, and that's when the ugliness came, because that became number one in my life. I did a lot of rehabs. I did a lot of stints. I did, and I was part of the problem instead of the solution. That thing came so important to me. I'd be that guy. Oh, I don't shoot it. I only sniff it, right? Until I did. I took my family through a muck, man. Embarrassment. The rest started to come. But I truly believe I went through all that to try to sell hope to other people one day, that they don't have to live like that.
Were you ever able to get a successful career going after college, like work a normal job, or it was just all strictly drug dealing?
I did. I worked for a company that sold paper products, actually down in Norwalk. I was their lead sales guy for a while, and then, throughout the mess and everything else, I just lost track of that. And then I worked for a, what do you want to say, the diesel, manufacturer, products for diesel mechanics, right? Number one bolt dealer in the world. I worked for them. I was one of their top sales guys. All my friends were like, "How do you do this?" And you show up, and I was active at the time. And when I really go over my amends list again, I got to make amends to that boss that I had at the time, because he believed in me. All my bosses always believed in me. Listen, you have a talent that we can't train. You can't train. You have a gift that we can't train. And I never understood that until now. But it was just. I had a company vehicle where they're paying for my Lincoln. It was, but I lost it all because I was showing up high and everything else. But I did have a decent job, but no career, no.
Where was your mom throughout the height of your addiction, especially after college?
I lived with her a lot. I was homeless, man. At the end of the day, if you don't have a key to your own apartment, you're homeless. When me and you were crossing paths, I had my own apartment. I had 2 girlfriends. I thought I was cool, right? My mom was just there in embarrassment. Embarrassment. Why are you living like this? We're not like this. Can you talk to me? And she would be embarrassed. She would go to the grocery store and people would be like, "Oh, you're his mom?" It wasn't. We live in a small community, especially New Milford. Everybody knew who I was, right? Or what I did, and I put her through a lot of embarrassment, man.
Did your mom ever try to have an intervention with you or send you off again?
And my mom would have did anything to fix me, man. I remember when there was a Dr. Rossenberger here in New Fairfield. Suboxone had just came on the scene. And it wasn't they just didn't give it out then. The doctor was only limited to a certain amount of patients. I think it costed $7,000 just to get on it. It was not even you had to pay cash to get on it. She tried that. She would. She brought me to meetings. She brought me to methadone. She would do whatever it would to help me. I just wasn't ready to hear it. But she was always there. This program, that program. And then there was times where I wasn't I was getting enough money to where you couldn't tell I was an addict, right? It was hidden. People knew I used drugs, but at the same time, but when it became the bitter ends at the end, and then arrested and then things, she was always there.
Now, you seem very business oriented, and to be business oriented, you're kind of thinking, I can't do my own supply or use drugs because that'll affect your bottom line. Why did you do both?
Man, listen, I was trapped by the lies, man. You know what I mean? Look at Biggie Smalls writes the song, Check Crack Commandments. You know what I mean? I was trapped by the lies that. that like I could do this, and by what was it, commandment number 4, I would become my best customer. But then I would like go get cleaned up for 30 days, right? But I did no work on myself, but I would be able to cold turkey for like 6 months, stack up a lot of money, and then become my best customer again. You know what I'm saying? So like I would separate myself, stop using, and then focus on creating wealth that way, like an idiot, being, but I just, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Do you think using the drugs gave you a different personality?
Of course, because I wasn't. Using the drugs robbed me from the God-given talents that God gave me, man, right? Like, I look back now and I used all these talents that I have, and I used them as liabilities, right? Like, no one wanted me around, but like, you look at it as good and evil, right? The enemy was using me to go with his plan, and all these talents that I have today with growing a company, I used, like, in the streets. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, well, I found God, I found recovery. Now I use my talents in a way that, like, I'm helping others because I'm tenacious, right? Like, I'm convincing, but today it's for a good purpose, because I know when I go somewhere, I'm helping a homeowner get a roof, or I'm helping them save on their electric bill. I'm not out there trying to con people, and I believe in my heart on the products that I sell today. Which the number one is hope, right? We got to sell hope.
So 2013 comes along. I meet you. That was when I first took over the front part of Tuxedo Junction. And
Right.
all I really knew about you was that you were in a motorcycle club and that you sold drugs.
Yeah.
That's really all I knew. You want to tell us about like the time frame, what you were doing at that point?
Man. Yeah, man. I was lost and broken, and I didn't know it yet. And I was, I had a motorcycle, and I did, and that was the image that I wanted people to see of me, like, and I thought that, like, that image made me something special. Today I know I was totally wrong, right? But that's what I thought was cool, man. There's no other excuse for it, right? I thought I was cool, Meanwhile, now I look back and I'm like, how blinded was I? Like, like couldn't. Nobody wanted me around. I was disrespecting women. I was disrespecting myself. I had to do through some step work. I had to, forgive myself for that too, because like I held a lot of resentment towards myself. For like, whoa, how was I living? You know what I mean? I was really part of a problem that's like killing people. Like at the end of the day, like that's what I was doing. Today, like I try to be the solution to that problem, and in fact, I don't try. I do, but just blinded, man. I don't know. But that was the image that I wanted people to think that I was tough. Meanwhile, I was not tough.
Do you think you were looking for like family? I mean, the brothers in a club like that?
Yeah, again, getting back to that fatherlessness problem, man. Like, the sense of love, right? The sense of like a so-called fake love, though. Like at the end of the day, like I said, that I look back on it now, but yeah, I was definitely probably looking for that. That's probably 100% true.
I think today's the first day I've ever seen you not in one of those leather jackets, because I would always see you in one of those. You guys would wear those leather jackets,
right? So now I look back and I'm like, if I can rep it for someone else, why can't I rep it for me and God, right? Like that's how I look at it, right? Like I would ride that thing around 100% to the dead, and I wore it everywhere I went, and I don't knock it, and I don't judge people in anything like that either. That's where they're at in their season in their life. I just know today, I got my eye on a bigger prize. You know what I'm saying? And it's about helping addicts and growing Rejoice and Restore, and giving back to the community that I stole so much from, if that makes sense.
Now, was that at the peak of your drug dealing in 2013?
Probably. Because I had, I was what I think is money then, but like now I know it was peanuts. But yeah, I had money to invest, with you and things like that. Like, yeah, I mean, I I had 2 cars. I had a motorcycle. Like all this stuff, this material stuff that I thought built like my outside core, and like meanwhile I was broken inside. But yeah, that was probably the peak, man. 100%. I was.
How much would you say you were making at the time?
Like 10 grand a week on a bad week.
That's a pretty good.
Yeah, back then too. Like maybe there was one point when I was 23 when it was just marijuana. This was way before. That was like probably 2007, 2006. It was a lot more than that. But yeah, probably about that.
And who was your clientele? Was it all local people or
Yeah.
just Danbury area?
Yeah.
And you had lived at Danbury at that point.
I did New Milford, Brookfield, Danbury, within the surrounding area. Yeah.
And what would you say was like your average demographic you were selling to? Is it younger, older, white, Spanish, black?
Whoever, yeah.
And are these all big time users, or are they just people that want to retail it to someone else, like they're buying it?
I had a mix of both at the time. I had a mix of both. At the end, it just was just people that were the same as me, right? Like just we were using together. But during the time, it would be both. Like if they, I could get whatever they wanted. Put it that way.
At that time period, how bad was your own addiction?
I think at that point, it was one of the times when I met you where I wasn't really doing too many drugs. I was, I was blinded by the fact that I would be able to get, like I said, to get what I have today. I thought that I was going to do that way. And, and then something always happens and I become my best customer. But when I met you, I don't think it was as bad. It wasn't like bad like that. No.
What's something you wish you knew back then that you know now?
How important God is. And spiritual principles. I live a totally different life today. I look to try to not ever go back to that guy. And, be careful of my character defects, if that makes sense, right? Like, instead of being around people like that, I try to bring the solution to people like that. Because there's a solution. I found a way out of that trap. I was in a trap, man. I would sell drugs. I would get some money, and then I would become my best customer, and then I would get arrested, and then it's just a cycle of an ongoing cycle that like I found a way out of, right? It was pretty simple actually too. I raised my hand and I asked another man for help. But I was stuck in a cycle of getting in trouble, breaking the law, and then sticking a needle back in my arm, and that's just how I lived my life for so long, stuck in that vicious cycle of addiction. You never use drugs, so you don't understand that one, but it's definitely a cycle, man.
I think one of the things that prevented me from using drugs is I was under a microscope at such a young age. I mean, when I got indicted, I was 19.
Right.
So I couldn't even really drink. Like I was getting drug tested and that they're raiding the club and everything like that. I think maybe if that wasn't going on, I would have been a little bit different. But I was fighting for my freedom. And I was under such a microscope. So it was hard to do.
Yeah.
And just the amount of pressure too.
Yeah, no, I remember going over there. I remember when you were at Tuxedos. I was like, this kid is so young, man. This kid, but like you're just another example. Like today, I'm an example of what God can do with people, right? Like turned it around, and like we're so talented, and we use it for the wrong thing. And if we just sit back and look at things and are like, whoa. I look back now, I'm like, dude, I wish I knew this, but if I didn't go through all that, then maybe I wouldn't be here. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I feel like in my situation, I got in too deep, way too fast, and I had all the right intentions, and it just...
Well, when someone told me Ian Bick, I was, there was a day when I was like, Ian Bick, right? But that's another thing, the spiritual principle of forgiveness, man. Like, listen, I don't... that is what it is. Man, imagine if I did something stupid back then, I wouldn't be where I am today, right? So but yeah, I was so upset with you. But again, at that point, I was making money, and you were all legit. You had contracts, you had everything, right? And you were paying. I was like, yo, this is great. This is better. This is awesome, right? And I think you had good intentions. I don't know the whole story of it behind it. But I know you were doing the clubs, the this, the that, the concerts, and I was like, yo, I want in with this. Who wouldn't want in on it? And who knows? Again, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. But yeah, I jumped right in, and you paid until you didn't, and then I think that's when you got in over your head, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have probably ended up like severely hurt or dead by all the shit I was doing if I had bad intentions. Like, I
Right.
think people genuinely saw that I had good intentions, and I didn't rat on anyone. Like, I didn't try
Right.
to bring anyone else down with me, whatever anyone else was doing.
Right. Yeah, I remember. I think someone told me something that you thought that I told on you, and I was like, bro, I was like, listen, there's an insurance, because that's how I was trying to give you everything I had. I was like, oh, so he keeps paying me, I'm gonna give him, and I had crashed the car, and I was like, here's the check to the car, and I think when they must have went through your bank account and saw my name on it, but I mean, I never said anything about that either.
Yeah.
Again, I was kind of clueless to what you were doing. I just remember you had iPads, you were doing this, and but you paid for your mistake. You did your time, and now look, like you had talents that like you had probably no idea if you, like you said, would you think you'd be doing this today?
Yeah. I mean, I went from promoting nightclubs to now this is promotion too, but it's not a risky one. I don't have to take 40 grand to book an act.
Right.
It's so much better doing it this way,
Right.
I never want to get involved in nightclubs or anything like that ever again.
Yeah. I mean, this is awesome. When they said, who told me? I remember I saw you at the, like I told you out there, I saw you at the
That Peach Wave, the frozen yogurt shop
yeah,
a
and I
couple
was
years
like,
ago.
I was still like, but listen, what are you gonna do? Listen, if you don't forgive people, what I've learned is I hold a resentment. Now, guess what the number one trigger for relapse is? Resentment in relationships. So now if I ever get complacent and I bump into you, I'm like, Ian Bick, and then what? Like, oh, guess what addicts do? When they're mad and they're painful, they go relapse. Like, oh, I'm going to show it. Like, no. You got to forgive people. If you don't forgive people, you stay stuck. And now they're the people that are like your excuse to go use again.
And I think time heals a lot of things too. Like when you look at the bigger picture, if 10 years, like say someone lost 10 grand 10 years ago, you look at it so much differently 10 years later than you do in the actual moment.
Yeah, no, in the moment I was angry, but like I said, I'm moving forward right now. And like I said, who knows, right? I don't believe in coincidence. God crossed our paths then for a reason. Who knows what's going to be into the future? Like, it's just, again, big, huge forgiveness thing. But you were paying, man. Like, I'm not gonna, I told someone today on the phone right before, I was like, I'm going to your big show, man. I was like, yeah, I'll never forget it. It was like, again, there was more margin than there was, selling drugs. Like yeah, it was good. Yeah.
So I get arrested in 2015. Don't see you again until like years later, and then I go to prison 2016. What happens to you? Where's your story go?
So I continued running amok, man. Like like I said, I don't like to talk about it too much because I don't like to glorify it, right? And I don't want any. But I did. I sold drugs, man, and then the arrest started, and like, I got arrested at my best friend's condo. I embarrassed him, man. I got caught with like 30 bags of heroin in Danbury. They seized my phone because they knew what I was doing. They seized my phone in the car and blah 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 blah. They made a big deal out of it. I got a really good lawyer in town, and I got 2 years probation. But while I was in that jail cell, it's like, I wasn't even thinking about getting out and fixing myself. All I was thinking about I just needed to get high. And I got right back to it, man. I got arrested. I got out because I was the man, right? Like, I was so blinded and stupid, man. And my mom was there, speaking of my mom, and she's like, we're going home, right? And I was like, yeah, thanks. I'll see you later. No, I'm not coming. No, sorry. And got right back to it, kept going, and then I got arrested again. I was on probation. I got arrested again in Monroe and in Bridgeport. I had a bunch of and this is what I share when I go into the prisons, man. And I tell people, like, yeah, this is, I got rearrested. I wasn't supposed to be, driving in Monroe. Another sales case. I bonded myself out. Had to go get my car, and then Bridgeport and Danbury started talking, and I had to go get bonded out on a 10, because now I was on a VOP, right? Because I violated probation. From Monroe, I got out, probation found out, hit me with another warrant, so I bonded myself out cash, $10,000 cash, And because I was the man. Still doing it. The judge gave me a program in Florida where like Lindsay Lohan goes, Palm Partners. I'll never forget, in Delray Beach. I had Blue Cross and Blue Shield from that good job that I had. They ended up finding out while I was gone that what happened. I ended up getting fired from that job. I came home from that program, and the judge was like, yeah, just don't get in trouble again. We'll reinstate your probation, right? And of course, while I was in that program, I didn't do no work on myself. I didn't, I felt I did 30 days. I was cured. I can come back home, and now I could just like, that's how I thought. Like, I could sell drugs, and I could get some of the money back that I lost, and I'm clean now. And then it didn't last more than 2 days, right? And then when I share to people today, when I do, meetings, I'm like, listen, there's a meeting schedule here. Like, go to meetings, right? Like, go to meetings, raise your hand and say you don't want to go back to jail. And I didn't do that, right? I didn't know about that yet. And I came home, and I got arrested here in Danbury, and at the end of Main Street. And 50 more bags. I think I got set up. The cops came. They went into the building. They found the 50 bags, fit 5 bundles, which I did before lunchtime. And long story short on that, my mom finally didn't come get me. And she's like, I talked to the lawyer. She's like, if I get you out now, well then you might never come home or you might die. And the best thing she ever did for me. And got to Bridgeport, and I never did. I had 297, 292 is my number, but I only did 2 weeks in Fairmont 2 in Bridgeport when I was like 20. So like now I'm in there with like murderers and stuff like that, bro. Like in the turtle suits, and like I'm done. She's like, I heard it before. You're not done. You're not done. Like, I'm gonna save your life. Everyone's saving my life now, and best thing ever happened to me, man. I was 37 years old, January 3rd, 2018, when I got arrested down there, and I did the 4 months in the county, and they were supposed to give me what's called a JRI bed. I don't know if you ever heard of JRI bed. You don't use drugs, so JRI bed's where you do some time in the county, and you get to go to like a long-term program, a 6-month program, and I was basically approved for that, and I did the 4 months. We went to sentencing, and the judge was like, Mr. Fusco, I gotta save your life, man. I gave you programs before. You went to Florida. You spit in my face. I'm going to give you all 2 years that you owe. And I said, whoa. I was cursed. Oh, the time in county doesn't count either, so that didn't count. And at first I was cursing him. Now I realize God did for me what I couldn't do for myself, right? That judge saved my life just like he said he was going to do. I, went to Cybulski, which was like an adult daycare. And best thing ever happened to me.
So he gave you 2 years?
He did.
And is there is there a way to get out early, or do you have to do
I did 15 months on it because, if you count the county time, I did about 15 months. So, and that was about it.
Do you think that the system gave you too many chances? I mean, you were able to, if your mom let you, you would have been able to bond out again that last time and probably would have went back to selling drugs too.
Right, but maybe I would have got a lot longer time. Listen, I think they try to help people, but I also think that they do. For me, I can only speak for what worked for me. I can't speak for what will work for someone else. But until my mom turned her back on me, I never would have got this thing. Because now I'm in a cage. I'm not meant for a cage. You know what it's like, right? Like that we can relate to. We can agree on that. Being in that building is no fun, man. Anyone that sits there, I tell guys when I go into prison today, I'm like, yo, they talk about 90 days is a skid bid. Oh, I could do a year. A year? Yo, bro, why don't you give this program a year? 1 year of your time. You got so many God-given talents, you don't even know what doors God will open to you. You run around here talking about a year is easy? Come on, you'll sleep through a year? That's ignorant. Year's a long time, man. And from going from living like, with the cleaning lady in a car and like to being in like a cage where someone else is pooping and you're right there in that like, nah. It's what it took for me. And I just never wanted to go back to that place.
I see so many articles of people that bond out and then they get rearrested, especially in like Connecticut. And, you read those News Times articles.
Well, listen, I mean, they want to program people, and again, I can't tell what's going to work for someone else, right? You know, like the rearrest, because it's only for drugs, but like jail's really not what a drug addict needs. For this drug addicts, it worked. The taxpayers got their money's worth, man. Let me tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a downright fact. The letting in and out, I'm, you know, I don't want to say anything about the Jews. I don't know anything about that. I do know what worked for me though was getting active and started hearing a message when I was in there. Like I got active with NA and AA, and I started hearing guys come in and they were like, "Yo, like I used to be just like you. I used to cook with a stinger. We used to like, you know, go to the mess hall and, you know, come back and buy like chicken underneath someone else's balls, bro, like just to get a decent meal, right? Like all that stuff that we go through while we're in jail. Like we used to wait online for the phone and like, you know, have to budget our commissary and like blah 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 blah. But like they let us in here to come sell you guys hope that like you don't ever have to come back in here. And oh, by the way, we're gonna leave tonight. And I started listening to that. And I was like, I could have that too. Maybe one day I could come back in here and share a message like that. And that's why I say it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So do you think that's the major difference between going to jail and then going to the rehab, that it didn't work out for you because you have people with so much lived experience that are already clean to show you, whereas a rehab, everyone's kind of just trying to survive equally?
I think the disease of addiction is so powerful that like until someone hits rock bottom, I don't care if you put them in a program or a jail, until they want this thing. Like my sponsor asks me all the time, how bad do you want it? Show me. Stop telling me. Show me. Until it gets so ugly to where like you need to do something about it. The program is I walked out of programs, right? Like like check in and that thing will start ringing in me like that. Like I just want to go back out there. Or like I've checked into hearing and I did the 30 days and I thought I was cured, man. But the thing is that people don't realize until they realize that the drugs are never the problem. And I'm not a drug. Like, the drugs weren't my problem. Steve was the problem. I don't know if that makes sense. It took me a long time to realize this, and I men in my life to tell me that. Like, the drugs were never the problem. Steve was the problem, right? Like, it's so true, though. Like, I put the drugs down. My life was still unmanageable until I started to do some work on myself. Like, when I told you earlier, I reached out to a guy that I was locked up with and said, "Joe, can you help me become a man? Like, I'm sick of living like a little boy. Like, can you help me become a man," right? And he's like, "Of course." And we walked through this, the process, you know? Like, it was simple at first. Just know your first thought's your wrong thought, Steve. Think about that for 3 days. Read what can I do, right? Write me a gratitude list for 10 days. Because I didn't even know what gratitude meant. Because I was so selfish and, a drug addict's main problem is they're selfish. Let's be honest. I was selfish and self-centered. And that's how I lived my life. Even when I knew you, everything was about me. And how was I gonna, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah. Now let's talk about prison. It's funny you brought up the chicken smuggling. We did that in the feds in a totally different state. Tell us about that.
So prison actually, listen, it was really bad, man, for me, man. And in this, I can really preach about, man, because in Bridgeport, I don't know where you went to county or where you got held. You went in, you owed time, so you probably didn't do county. But I got arrested and didn't make bond, so I did Bridgeport. No locks, 23-hour in a small little cell with another guy. Best, worst experience of my life, right? No stingers, no nothing. You're cooking with like hot water, like not even hot water. You're learning how to cook and order commissary. I was kicking methadone in there, in that place, and in there there was no like smuggle anything. That didn't happen until I got to the prison. So really bad. My mom gave me $75 a week, and she always said to me, "Listen," and that was the max then. So I was rich. Like I left being like having a little money. Well, you know what I mean? And I did have some money. She's like, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna send you that money, and you're gonna live the life of Riley. But if you ever," and I'm telling you, if you ever do this again, I won't send you $1, and you'll see what it's like to really be in prison. Where like dudes are washing other dudes' boxers just to get commissary. I don't know about where you were, but everyone was talking about how big and bad they were and how much drugs they sold, but they didn't have nothing in their locker, you know? So I was blessed. I left Bridgeport to go to county when I didn't get that program. And I had boxes of commissary. You know, I don't know if you were transported, but in Connecticut, they give you like these, you know, those paper boxes that are for files, like the cardboard boxes. And they give you that. I think I needed like a whole nother van for my commissary, you know? I didn't have a lock. You can't buy a lock in Bridgeport when you're in the blocks. So I got up to Cybulski. I was a little nervous, too. I'm not going to lie. When I didn't get that program, because I was big and cocky, I was going to the program. Again, God did what for me that I didn't know what I could do for myself, because I didn't do no inside work yet, and the pain wasn't strong enough yet. I still thought after the 4 months and then going to the program, I was going to be clean, and then I could come home and do this thing again and get back to, you know, I was really going to be clean. I wouldn't become my best customer ever again, right? God knew different. So I go up to Cybulski with those boxes, and the minute I get to H-Dorm, well, they drive you around the prisons first. You get a tour of all of them if you go to Cybulski. So you drive by Enfield. I'm like, oh, this place is big, the wires, you know. Then you drive by Carl Robinson, where everyone's like, oh, my God, there's that. And you don't want to go to that facility. You drive through Summers, and they're all there, man. Tall, the thing that the guy shoots you from. And I was like, yo, this is crazy, bro. Like, how did I get myself into this? You know? Long story short, you drive by Northern, which is like the super max, and then they pull you into Cybulski, which was an adult daycare. And I joke about it now, but it's exactly what I needed. They wake you up in the morning, right? They give you a little time to go get breakfast, and they make you line up because they don't know if anyone's going to beat each other up. So then they let you come out and play for a little while. And then they got to count us because they don't know if anyone wants to run away. And then they let us out to play. They take us to lunch. Then they count us. Then they let us back out. Pretty sad that as a grown man, I needed that kind of structure in my life. Where I learned how to cook in a stinger, do mofungos.
Tell us how to make mofongo. And what exactly mofongo is. That was the first ever prison meal I ever had.
It's probably the best one, and shockingly enough, made with the stinger inside there, they're actually pretty good. It's not like going to the mofongo house, but it's just potato chips, wet down potato chips. They, you know, again, talented, smartest people in the world. They're rolling out with a shampoo bottle, right? The chips. That's like you substitute those for the plantains on the wrap of a real mofongo. Put in the soups, the jerk pork, the cheeses. I mean, everything is they're cutting down everything nice and fine, all the spices. And then they wrap it up in the garbage bag and put it inside of the stinger, which I used to call home to my mom, we're using a stinger. She'd be like, oh my God, what is going on? And I'm like, yeah, you plug it in. Like it was nuts, but it was a whole different lifestyle to learn from, right? And again, I had lots of commissary, so I cooked like, I didn't really eat the cafeteria food.
How would you guys make the stinger?
I never really made one. People would, it's like an extension cord cut at the end and the wires come off. And they take that and they drop it into the water, and it actually cooks pretty good, man. What happens is it starts to boil the water, and you take the garbage bag, fill that with water, and then layer another garbage bag over that water. Hence, think about it like this, you know, you're taking mop bucket water too. Well, not mop, but you clean out the mop bucket, get the water from the Dutch sink, bring it over to your bunk, pour it in there. You got to hide this thing. The thing starts bubbling. You can hear a stinger going zzz, right? Like,
I wonder if anyone's ever gotten electrocuted.
No, but I've never seen it happen. But the guys told me that like Osborne's so old, and if you make it wrong, if you don't do it correctly, like if you don't, and the two things connect, it'll shut all the power down in the whole facility. So that's why they don't like them going around, is because, you know, it's probably bad for the facility if all the electricity gets shut down. And you could probably get severely hurt. Like, you're right, like electrocuted.
So once you got there, were you still scared, or did it seem better than what you expected it to be?
You know what? I was a little, I'm not going to lie, man. I was a little nervous. I didn't know where I was going, right? Like I said, I came back from the place and I asked everybody there. I'm like, what's it like? Where am I going? Like to the people that have done time before. And they're like, oh, well, like if you go to Osborne, the rats are going to eat your commissary. And if you go to Carl Robinson, like there's a lot of gangs. And if you go there, that might happen. And I was like, wow. And again, God knew what he was doing for me. Dropped me right off in Willard Cybulski, in the Cybulski unit. But I got to H-Storm. And man, I didn't have a lock. So the first morning I woke up and I got robbed when I went to Chow. Of everything, boxes. And they left me with enough to get by to the next commissary. And jail talk. Everybody's, oh, you got to do something. I was like, yo, Ian, for the first time in my life, I was like, yo, I'm not gonna do it. The people that I always thought I wanted to be like, I'm in the place where they go, right? And I'm not gonna partake in it. I was like, no, I'm gonna turn this negative into a positive. And they had a program called Second Chance Program. And I knew my mom would send me more money. And then I would have commissary in a couple weeks. I had enough to get by. It left me a couple tunas and stuff. Long story short, I applied for E-Dorm. It's called Second Chance Dorm. And that's where the process really started to happen. And I was like, I don't care if it's called the Snitch Dorm. That's where I want to go, man. Maybe I should have done that, right? And I got in there and we had 2 mattresses, computers, and I got a job working on the side of the road for 50 cents a day. It's crazy. I used to make 50 cents a day, Now, it's more than 50K a month, right? So, anything's possible.
What do you think old Steve would have done in that moment, drug-addicted Steve, when someone stole your commissary?
That's a great question, man. I probably would have fed in to everything that they were saying and went and tried to do something stupid, for the attention. But meanwhile, now you're in prison, man. Guess what? I'm going to go do something stupid when, for what? All those people in there were like, probably, oh, he's such a punk. He's such a, I don't like to swear anymore. I barely swear, but, BITCH. He's such a, that's probably what they were saying in there. And I know they were, but I told myself, I was like, you know what? I don't care what any of these people say about me. I'm never going to see any of them again. Right? But the old Steve that didn't learn anything probably would have tried to find out who it was, make a big scene, and then, you know what? Get thrown in the lockup, the seg, and I wouldn't have any commissary, and they wouldn't have any phone calls. So, I didn't want to lose any of my privileges that I did have. And I was just done, bro. I don't know how to explain it other than that. I was just done. That feeling is one that's just, like I said, it's the best, worst thing that ever happened to me, man. I never want to ever feel like that again.
Were you still searching for brotherhood and acceptance in prison? Or were you kind of weaning away from that at that point?
Totally weaning away from it. Totally. If you weren't talking about winning while you were in there, I wasn't hanging out with you, because there were men that they were done. I met my sponsor in prison, man. A guy who I never thought that I would ever see again. It's funny. You talk about statistics, and it's just another evidence of God moving in my life, right? Like, the statistics of him coming home and not putting a needle or a pipe in his mouth again is slim to none, right? The relapse statistics are really, really high. The likelihood of him not coming home again and getting rearrested or doing something stupid to go back, the recidivism rate, we know how high that is. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but it's pretty darn high, right? On top of that, for it to not happen to me, for me not to come home to get active with the same dumbbells that I was hanging out with before prison, right? And to not go back again for the same stupid thing. And then the likelihood of me not putting a needle back in my arm or putting crack pipe back in my mouth are slim to none. It's more likely to hit off scratch off. That's how I know that God was moving chess pieces while I was in jail. So that when I was ready, that I would reach out and boom, this guy helped me so much, man. Turned me into the man that I am today.
Tell us about that program you were just talking about.
E-Dorm?
Yeah.
E-Dorm is great. Second Chance Program, man. I don't know how active it is right now, but I just wanted to be in it. And you got to fill out an application. It was like a job interview. And I was never supposed to go to prison. I was supposed to be a brain surgeon, man. Right? So you applied for it, and I was doing it all like it's a job. It was Miss Muckman who ran it then. I heard she's like she got a promotion. She's like the deputy warden. But the program is set up to try to help people, right? They're one cube in there. I don't know how it was in the feds, but we have cubes, right? One cube was set up with just where it was for just groups all day, like men leading men groups, right? About like fatherlessness and AA and NA, and they had computers in there so people could, it was the only dorm in Connecticut that had a computer, right? So you could do like job applications, work release program where they would like send these guys out to Esnunktuk or something like that. College was right down in Enfield there. They were doing that, getting them, ready for college. And on top of that, they were sending guys out to real jobs where they were making $15 an hour. See, and that's where I can't lie, truly believe today God put me in that situation because I met talented men in there. I don't know if you did. Some of those men had better vocabularies than the people I went to college with. Some of those men could tell a better story than anyone I ever knew. At that time, phone calls cost money, right? $5 for phone call. You had guys in there that could tell 6 different women a 6 different story, bro, right? To send them money, and they all lived in the same town. And that's where the vision came to me. I'm like, listen, if we could ever help these people, come home and realize that they got God-given talent, that they just don't make it to the halfway house that's in the block, that we could teach them how to financial freedom. A credit card that's a secured credit card to build their credit. Instead of putting them right down in the block where Flacco's going to be like, oh, here's some, get back to work because that's what you're good at. Then they reach this plateau. They make 150, 2, 3, 4, 500,000 selling drugs, right? And then they get arrested again.
And it's not worth it.
No. But if you could take that guy, give him livable income, right? Livable income at first. Teach them how to use those assets, bro. The storytelling. What I do right now, the best story wins. And the person that believes it in their heart, right? Homeowner sales is not easy. I'm not saying we go in there and tell stories. No, but we explain a product. We explain why we're different to get the contract signed. And there's some of these guys out there, they don't realize how much talent they have. And I believe being in that Cybulski was that. I used to call home to my grandmother $5 a day to tell her, we're going to open Sober Livings one day. The division was downloaded, while I was in there. And she's like, okay, and listened. And today it's what can we do to help? My company, everybody's in recovery. From the first one who believed in me, Jamie, he was 2.5 years ago, he had a sign off the exit in Hartford where he used to fight for that prime real estate to get $40 a day to get heroin. Hank, another guy, Brian, that door knocks with me, all of them were homeless eating out of dumpsters, man. And that's the people that God connected me with, and now we're out there and we're helping people. And the vision is coming true. I bought a house in Waterbury. It's been approved by the city. I'm just waiting to get my family out of it and to get another house to live in and then use that one. And it's nice. It's got granite countertops. Because when I was in prison, I was like, what am I going to come home to? That was my fear, right? And I'm sure there's other men that are like that. What am I going to come home to? A job? Am I going to come home to this? Am I going to come home to that? What if someone has somewhere to come home to that wasn't nasty, that was nice, right? What option would they have? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Did you go to a halfway house when you got out?
I didn't.
Oh, I went to the Chase Center in Waterbury.
So it was probably not the nicest facility.
That was a dump.
But
they have state guys there too.
Right. So I know Bishop Street, Bishop House. But again, if there was something for the guys that like I said, a job, a livable income, something to where they don't have to go back to the block. Because the block is a lose-lose. I don't care what anyone says. It's always a lose-lose. Whatever you do gain, they're going to take it away.
Yeah, I mean, you make $1 million in 1 year, say, drug dealing, but then you go to prison for 10. I think you would have been better off not going or not selling the drugs.
Right, because then if they take everything, then you're hit, right?
Even if they don't take it, I don't know, it's just not worth it.
Right.
It doesn't even
Especially somebody... a good salesman in what I do can make $250,000, $300,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? Now, on top of that, now they're not having to look over their shoulder. Again, if you could get 1 or 2 guys, right? Think about the fatherlessness problem that we talked about earlier that I suffered from, that a lot of many men suffered from. If you could get that one guy to become livable income, not just working for part-time money, but to where he can buy his kids sneakers, right? To where he could take them to soccer practice and have that freedom. Now you're fixing that problem one person at a time. Now there's a father being sent back to a son, right? Like, that's the vision I had. And just to try to help people. Like I said, instead of being part of the problem, being part of the solution. I don't know if that makes sense, but, you know,
How hard was it to rebuild the relationship with your mom once you got out? Did she trust you fully when you came home?
we talked every day in there. And she believed in me. I think she heard something different in me that she never heard before. However, she just wasn't. She heard it all before. And meanwhile, think about it like this. I embarrassed her so much. Like, her son that she spent all this money on schools and stuff was in prison at 37. Like, she didn't even like to go to the grocery store in town, man. Like, everybody knew. And when I came home, I moved to her house. Again, homeless, didn't have a key to my own apartment. Parole went there and they told her, wow, how lucky this kid is. A lot of these guys are sharing rooms and stuff. Like, they would tell, like, because I guess he did TS. I paroled. It was 50%. And I came home, and my grandmother gave me her car, and I had a breather on it. And the trust came soon. Now today, my mom fully, I used to hear people in NA talk about, oh, my mother, my mother put me on her accounts and stuff. I have the key to the lockbox. Like, those are the conversations I have with my mother today. Like, fully trust her. But she always did tell me when I was inside, if this ever happens again, and I don't want to lose my mom. Today I hand her my credit card and I'm like, here, go.
How have you been able to rebuild since getting out of prison?
It took a while, but what it was is I stayed on that path moving forward, right? There is hope. Like, there is a new way. Like, people just give in. I wasn't willing to go back. I came home, I was working for like $8 or $10 an hour, doing like it was crazy. How I got into this is I reached out to a solar company, and they gave me a shot. I'll always be forever thankful for Venture Solar and this guy named Alex, and he gave me a shot. He kept telling me, he's like, Steve, I can't train what you have. It's untrainable. It's just God-given. And I was in BJ's bothering people for solar. Like, I'm sure you've been in there, right? And I passed the solar company's background check, but I didn't pass the BJ's background check. And he's like, I got something else for you. If you want to knock doors, I'll let you knock doors. And if you hit this certain number of goals, I'll promote you to in-home sales. And I hit all those goals, and I did in-home sales. It's where I learned the fundamentals of knocking on doors, building relationships with people. And I went 100 miles an hour at it, and then until I eventually started my own.
What's your life look like today?
I have a wife. Like, I never was going to get married. I thought 2 or 3 girlfriends was like what was cool, man, and what I wanted. And meanwhile, I was so lonely on the inside and broken. I met my wife. Like, besides God, she's my mom. She's the most important person in my life, hands down today. I met her in a bar. We were both broken, and I prayed for her when I was locked up. The spitting image of her. When I first walked by her, I was like, it's you. She's like, what? I was like, she didn't believe me at first either. And she was hanging out with a bunch of, like, people active too. Like, active gang, active drug dealing people. And but God had different plans. And I approached her. I had to ask her 30 times. They call it living in the 30, right? I learned this from another guy I listened to. But I treated her like she was, I was going to get her. And she finally gave me a chance. And then we almost broke up before we got married. And but God uses and humbles people before he really takes them and uses them for what they're called to do or what he's calling them to do. And that's exactly what he did. And I look at it now, and she told me when we got in an argument, and she said, God's going to humble you. And I was like, still at that point, I was like, yeah, whatever. And he used her to humble me, to get me to run to him. And came home, we started going to church. Her parents are pastors, and I had diagnosed trigger finger, man. diagnosed trigger finger where I couldn't go like this with my finger, and I was in her mom's church. Her mom prayed over me, and my finger just started going up and down. And that's when I was like, you're real. Like, you've been here the whole time. You were there through the overdoses. You were there for the drug deal. You were there for the arrest. You were there for the whole prison ride, right? You were there holding me the whole time. And if you told me I would talk like this when I met you, I would have been like, you're nuts, right? I was going to roll. You have no idea. And we got married, and we barely argue. It's like the most untoxic relationship I went in because we have God at the center of it.
It's the right person.
Yeah. So on top of that, a relationship, I'm a mother, I'm a son today. I'm a stepfather. I'm a father. You know what? Let me clarify that. I'm the father. You know? The father's still out there active. I do the daddy. I go to school for the career day. You know what I mean? I get to do these things today because I decided to give up one thing. I had to give up one thing, bro. The drugs to get all this. And I'm an owner of a company. You know, me and my wife are. And but I think the best thing is that, like I said, I get to go tell people that this thing is possible, that there is a different way. That, like, if you find a way off the circle of getting arrested and going back and getting arrested and going back, that, like, you can have this thing too. It takes 1 year. That's how I get back to when I told you the guys in the jail. I don't know when they did it in yours, but in mine, they were like a year. Like, if I never gave myself the year, I would never be here to have what I have today. I don't know if that makes sense. It really took a year of not going in, a year of going to meetings, a year of, like, just staying away from everybody. And then that's when everything started to open up.
Do you think everyone has the ability to be able to do something like this, but they're just in their own way and can't get past that?
Yes. I think it's about the people you have around you, though. See, my old network and my wife's old network, when we fought, the people that she was still hanging on was like, screw him, just go out and cheat on him, right? Because it's the people you have around you, right? Little things like that. You get in an argument with your girl, and you get people around you that are, like, still cheating on their wife and have side chicks. Well, guess what? That's what the people around you are going to tell you to do, and then it's going to make that marriage have issues, you know? Meanwhile, when at that point I had friends in my life, and they're like, you know what? What did you do? What did you do to make her react that way? You know, it's all about the people you hang out with, right? Like, today I have people around me, and she has around her too, that are gonna, you know, they're gonna build this up. If you're hanging out with people that are always negative, and, like, doing the wrong things, well, then you're gonna be doing that stuff. On top of that, let's mix that with the music that I used to listen to. I'm downloading all these evil thoughts into my head. Like, I'm not judging anyone who listens to certain music, but if when I met you, you told me that I would listen to Christian hip hop and worship music and dance in church and jump up and down, I'll call you. No way, bro.
Now that you're successful, do people from the past reach out to you, and how do you handle those conversations? I feel like a lot of people struggle with kind of, when they're in a new lane in life, separating completely from the past.
I never forget where I was. That's why I do the service work that I do. I'm big on service work. Like I said, I do H&I, which is hospitals and institutions. I go into prisons today, go into rehabs, and I try to carry the message of hope, right? Like that, like an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs and lose the desire to use. That's all the program promises is like, it promises us to stop using drugs. That's all. Everything else that comes along with it is like a blessing. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Just about separating people from the past.
Yeah. So now that I found this new way to live, obviously people see it. When I bump into them, hey, how you doing? Like up here in New Milford this past weekend. That's like my hometown. Like, I ran amok up there, man. I was part of the problem, and I hear Steven, and, like, you know, I'm so proud of you. Like, you know, like, I don't think there's not people calling me, like, you know, saying good job, but I keep on moving. It's about the new people that I touch. You know what I'm saying? The new people, like when I go into a prison, man, the guys are crying, like from the stuff that I said. because I can relate to them. The counselors and everything in there are going to tell you one thing, but like I say the same exact thing in a different language, and it helps them. So I don't know if it's about the people in the past. I think it's about the people that God puts in my life now, to where like what are we going to do to help these people? But I haven't come around here besides New Milford and today. It's very rare, very rare.
What's one thing you wish you could tell your 18-year-old self if you were back in time standing across from him?
That you can have anything in this world that you want if you put your mind to it and if you put God first. With God, all things are possible. It's simple. It's Matthew 19:26. If I had known this, and if I'd known that the Father I was searching for wasn't in the men that I was hanging out with and trying to please and all that stuff, that he was sitting right up there watching me the whole time, that's probably what I would have told myself. Listen to, my parents told me, my mom and my grandparents told me, I just didn't want to listen to them. I don't, but that's probably what I would, that's not probably, it's definitely what I would tell them. Like, put God first and anything is possible. And like, you do have talents and you don't have to hang out in those places.
Steve, I appreciate you coming on the show today, man.
Dad, thank you, man. Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out. You did awesome, man. For your first ever podcast, you crushed it.
Thanks.
Awesome, man.
And then you got to put me on one of the most popular ones, right?
And we'll have the link to your business and everything in the bio of this.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.